Good morning, students, and it's really nice to have all of you back. So, in our last class, we did a bit of history, right? And in the previous videos, which I had sent you earlier in the month of April, we had started with our environment in geography. So, going ahead, this year's focus in geography is basically our entire planet. So, let us get to know our planet in complete. What is there outside the planet, what is there inside the planet, the various components of our planet, and how our planet actually works, how the weathers work, how the climates work. All these things are so beautiful to learn and understand. And so we will start this. We started with our environment, and now let's go inside our earth to find what are the different parts, what are the different layers, and how our earth is actually made up. So for me, for beginners, I always compare our earth to an onion. Our earth is homeland. It's our homeland. It's a dynamic planet. Why do we call it as a dynamic planet? Is because there are constant changes. There are constant changes outside. There are constant changes within and inside our earth also. The changes outside we can normally take, for example, the climates, the weather conditions, the constant change in the wind pattern, the constant changes, like we have natural calamities, we have earthquakes. All these things are the changes which we are able to observe on the outside. And the changes on the inside, what we can observe is like in the form of earthquakes, in the form of volcanoes. These are the things which we see are things which is happening inside our earth and is visible to us on the outside. But there are many things which are happening inside our earth also, which we cannot see immediately on the outside, right? We will learn about those things in the further chapters and in this chapter also. So as I was saying, our earth is made up of multiple layers, and you can always compare it to an onion. As you go on peeling the layers of an onion, you can see that the layers become thicker and thicker, and also you can see that you are slowly approaching the center of the onion. So just like the onion, our earth is made up of multiple layers. So let us try and understand what these layers are, what their functions are, and what they are made up of. So the outermost layer is called as the crust, right? The outermost layer is called as the crust and is actually the thinnest layer of all the layers that we have. The crust forms only 0.5% of the volume of the earth. Means the entire volume. If you imagine our earth as a football, right? If you imagine our earth as a football, only 0.5% of the entire volume of that entire ball which is there, inside, outside, full thing, only 0.5% of it is made up of the crust. So you can imagine the crust is basically the place where we live. It makes up the lithosphere, right? You have learned about the lithosphere in your last year's geography. So this lithosphere and the crust, it's only 0.5%, whereas the remaining percent is made up of 16%, that is the mantle, the layer below the crust, and 83% makes up the core, that is the centermost part of the earth. So now what are these crusts? There are different kinds of crusts also, so we can understand what this crust is and what it is made up of. Crust is about 35 kilometers on the continental masses and only 5 kilometers on the ocean floor. Means this is the thickness of the crust. If you see the thickness of the crust, it is 35 kilometers. Now you might feel that this 35 kilometers is a small number, but imagine we are digging down into the earth, right? This 35 kilometers is almost an equivalent distance of from Belgaum to Kittur. If you have any time traveled outside Belgaum and gone to the place of Kittur, where this city is famous for Rani Channamma, and the distance approximately from Belgaum to Kittur is about 35 kilometers. So that is the distance of right from the surface till the last point in the crust. If you start digging downwards into the earth, that is the thickness of the crust on the continental mass, in the continent. But as we go into the ocean, this crust becomes thinner because we are going deep down into the ocean. The thickness of the crust is only 5 kilometers once we reach to the bottom of the ocean. The oceanic crust mainly consists of silica and magnesium, and it is therefore called as SEMA in short. That is silica and magnesium. These are the two minerals which are made up and found in the Earth's crust. These are minerals. Silica is one mineral and magnesium is another mineral. So in short, the oceanic crust, it is called as SEMA, the bottom part. And then the continental crust, these are made of again silica and alumina. These are the two minerals which are made up of the, which make up the continental crust, and that is why again the short of this, it is called as Sial, that is silica and alumina. So the oceanic crust is SEMA, silica and magnesium, whereas the continental crust is Sial, that is silica and aluminium. Now once we come down below the crust, the next layer which we have is the mantle, right? This is an extremely thick layer, and this mantle has a thickness of 29,000 kilometers. 2900 kilometers, 2,900 kilometers. That is the thickness of the mantle. Immediately after the crust, we have the mantle. It extends to a depth of 2,900 kilometers. That's an extremely deep, thick layer of our Earth. And after the core, after the mantle, we have the core, that is the centermost part. Now this centermost part, the innermost layer, is a core with a radius of about 3,500 kilometers. It is mainly made up of nickel, iron, and is called as NIFE, N-I-F-E, that is short form for nickel, and Fe for iron, because in iron, scientifically the name for iron is ferrous. That is why the short form is NIFE, N-I-F-E. So it is nickel and iron put together. And the central core has very high temperature and extremely high pressure also. If you see the diagram over here, there's a sort of dissection of the Earth, wherein the outermost part is the crust, then you can see the mantle, and then you can see the liquid outer core and the solid inner core. So the innermost part, the centermost part, the orange part which you can see, is a solid, extremely high pressure, very hot. It is the solid inner core, and outside the solid inner core is actually the liquid outer core. So whenever you see a volcanic eruption, you would have seen volcanic eruptions many times on TV. I doubt it if anybody of you have actually seen a volcanic eruption. Even I have never seen. But on TV, when you see this volcanic eruption, you see this red hot color, fire like thick liquid like mass coming out, oozing out from the mountain, right? From the center of the mountain, you can see it splashing out outside and then slowly seeping out from the sides of the mountain. This is the liquid outer core which is forcing its way outside through the mantle and exploding out from the crust. That is how a volcanic eruption happens. We will learn about volcanic eruptions more in detail in future classes also, but this is actually the liquid outer core which is coming out, that hot mass. Few interesting facts. The deepest mine in the world is in South Africa. Okay, it's about 4 kilometers deep, and in search for oil, engineers have dug a hole about 6 kilometers deep. So this is actually the deepest we have ever gone. So if you can recall again the depth of our crust, how much had we said earlier? 35 kilometers, right? So 35 kilometers is the thickness of our crust, and the deepest mine in the world, the deepest we have actually dug up till now, is in South Africa. That is 4 kilometers in depth. And searching for oil, engineers have dug a hole about 6 kilometers depth. So you can imagine that we have not even dug half of the, or even 1/4 of the depth of the crust up till now. So you can only imagine how deep it is. To reach the center of the earth, which is practically impossible, not at all possible, you have to dig a hole 6,000 kilometers deep in the ocean floor. That is how deep you have to dig, 6,000 kilometers. Can you just imagine that? 6,000 kilometers, and we have gone up till now in the deepest mile and the deepest hole dug for oil is only 6 kilometers. So it is 1,000 times more you have to dig deep down. Right. So this was all about the layers of the earth. Recapitulating what we did up till now, we learnt about the layers of the earth. We learnt about the crust, the thickness of the crust, and then comes the mantle, how thick the mantle is, about 2,900 kilometers deep the mantle goes. And next we have the outer liquid core and the inner solid core. Both together, the core totally has a radius of 3,500 kilometers. And we also learnt that whatever liquid that we see coming out during the volcanoes is actually the liquid inner core, which is outer core, which is coming out with great pressure and with great force. Right. So in the future lessons we will learn about the formation of rocks. Hopefully in the next class we will be meeting online, so I can see you all directly face to face. We will meet online and we can learn the entire lesson in more clarity. So as usual, if you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the school app. I will definitely answer those doubts of yours. And please stay at home, stay safe. Hopefully in the coming months we will be able to meet face to face if school starts regularly. So that's all for me. Thank you and have a good day.